We're back with the Horse Racing Network, and we are looking at day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, and we're going to head into a preview now with myself, Izzy Phillips, and racing broadcaster and journalist Paul Alster. How are you doing, Paul?
I'm well, and I'm looking forward to day 2. I think it's going to be a good punting day, the Wednesday.
Well, we enjoyed talking about day 1. I think we were looking for racing history with Constitution Hill, but will we be getting the same on day 2? We start off with the Turners, Novices hurdle, which is a grade 1. And there's actually a horse in here, Paul, that you mentioned on our day 1 preview. One for the Brits. What do you think of the chances of the New Lion?
He's got every chance. I think this is one chance that the Brits have of winning one of the graded non-handicaps, one of the grade 1 non-handicaps. I mean, this is a very good horse, and you only have to hear Dan Skelton talk about the horse to understand how much he thinks of it. He absolutely loves this horse, and he's got a great record at Cheltenham, has Dan Skelton, and he had a wonderful time last year. So I think it's probably, for me, got as good a chance as the favourite at the moment, which is Final Demand, which is one of, I think, 20 horses that Willie Mullins actually has entered in this race. 20 entries. So we don't know which ones. Kopek de Board is in there, the favourite for the Novices, amongst others. So I think Final Demand is obviously very talented and highly rated by Willie Mullins. And if he says it's a good one, then it is a very good one. But the New Lion, I think it has to go well, don't you?
I think so. I mean, what do you make of the Challow hurdle curse that seems to plague Cheltenham Festival runners? Is it just the bad juju, Like, I don't know if I want this.
I just don't know. There is a definite trend of horses that have run in the Challow hurdle not doing particularly well afterwards, but I think this is a horse that can buck the trend. Statistics are, there's lies, damn lies, and statistics, as the man said. And I think the New Lion is a good enough horse to overcome that kind of curse of the Challow. Just looking at one or two others, because we still aren't sure who's going to run, but for those people that are listening to us that are interested to consider other horses, I'd suggest having a look at James's Gate, Martin Brassel's runner, who for me travels and jumps like a proper horse. He looks a very exciting horse in the making, and Martin Brassel is a trainer who doesn't send many horses over to the festival, and he's got a good record when he does. So that would be one that maybe is worth having a look at. And of course, as we said in the day 1 preview, we're expecting the ground to probably be no worse than good to soft in the first few days of the meeting.
I have one here that's a little bit of a bigger price, and I'm willing to forgive and forget for the Twiston Davies team not running him when he wasn't fully fit at the Cheltenham Festival Trials Day, and that is Potter's Charm. If you took away his last race, where they said he wasn't fully fit, but we wanted to get a run into him before the festival, you'd have no issues backing him. The way he flew out of that mist at Aintree, remember, if you took away that last race, he wasn't fully fit. Perhaps some of that form hasn't stood up as well, but they're still only novice horses. And I think, it's been all systems go up until that trials day. I think it is probably the Twiston Davies team's best chance of a winner over the course of the festival.
He's a good horse. He's a very good horse. And I think they may well regret having run him, against 6 Mile Bridge, who's possibly going to take his chance and run as well in the race on Wednesday. On his previous form, he's got to have a decent each-way chance. But my feeling is, I have to be honest, is that the British form, with the exception of the New Lion, I think he's just a little way behind the Irish form. I've read a few correspondents that don't agree. They think it's the other way around. And maybe you're with them, that the British form is actually going to stand up to the Irish. But I think the New Lion is our big hope, and I think James's Gate, if he runs, might be of interest. But I wouldn't put anybody off backing Potter's Charm if you can overlook that disappointing run at Cheltenham last time.
Yeah, I mean, if you've backed Final Demand, he's not a bad price. He won a 12 lengths victory last time at the Dublin Racing Festival, so you can understand here why he takes his place at the top of the market. Yeah. Right. let's take a quick look at the Brown advisory then. So we have the top of the market here, Ballyburn, for Jason Manasseh? No, sorry guys, I might have to go back there. David Manasseh. So at the top of the market here, we have Ballyburn for David Manasseh, and he's said for quite a while that he wanted, to run him over that race at the festival that's already been cancelled. So he's potentially looking in the markets like he's going to take his place in the Brown advisory instead of the Arkle. So sorry, ante-post Arkle backers. Rip your bet slips up, I think, because it looks like he's definitely going for the Brown advisory. And it looks like there might be a bit of a showdown with Dancing City for Willie Mullins. So another kind of Willie Mullins, Gordon Elliott, same as day one here, Paul, where you have to get out to 25-1 before you find a British trained horse.
Yeah. This race used to be, a true highlight of the festival, the Novices Gold Cup, they used to call it, when it was the RSA Chase and things like that for older viewers. Ballyburn is a cracking horse, there's no doubt about it. He's a crackerjack, but he's never done this distance. And he's got to come up the hill, he's got to come up an extra 3 furlongs and up that hill, and it's a much stiffer test than anything he's taken on so far. And the fact that they were going to run him potentially over 2 miles in the Arkles suggests that they think he's very, very speedy. So the question is he going to have enough stamina? And I wouldn't want to pay 7-4 to find out if he's going to get up the hill. So I think he's one to oppose, Ballyburn. Woody's also got Dancing City that you mentioned. That one's looked good in a couple of lower grade novice chases, but he's got a lot of potential. And of course, last season he won a couple of grade ones at Aintree and at Punchestown. I do think that Gordon Elliott's got a proper shout in this race. He's potentially could run better days ahead. But the other one of his that I really like is Croke Park, who to me is a proper stayer. I think he'll go well, Croke Park.
He nearly spoiled the party, didn't he, against Ballyburn last time at the DRF. They had a bit of a coming together over the last. So, yeah, right. Could be dangerous.
Remember, Izzy, that was 2 miles, 5 furlongs. And this is going to be 3 miles and just about 1 furlong. So I think over the longer trip, Croke Park, I can see him keeping on really strongly up the hill. And if there's any flaws in the stamina of Ballyburn, that might expose those.
If we move on now to take a look at the big race of the day, which is actually the race is probably one of my favourites of Cheltenham Week. It is the Queen Mother Champion Chase. It's 2 miles, fences, it's all speed, it's all glamour. You cannot put a foot wrong here. It's a bit of a favourites graveyard, this race as well, but not this year for me. I am all team John Bon. I feel like we've watched him from being like a gangly teenager grown into a strapping young man. Like, I cannot wait to see John Bon put his stamp of approval on this Queen Mother Champion Chase. What about you, Paul?
He's going to be the one to beat. I mean, the market tells you that. I'm not telling you anything new. And he is a fabulous horse. And Nicky Henderson, he's had so many great 2 mile chases, especially in recent times, Altior and Sprinter Sacra and others. And John Bon has done everything right. I mean, the point you made was a really good one, that the sheer speed of the 2 mile champion chase means that if you make one slight mistake, it can be enough to cook your goose, so to speak. So on that point, I'd never bet odds on in a race like this. And as you pointed out, it's a race that favourites have not always had the best of record in. Gaelic Warrior may well go there. Now, he's a bit of a nutter. We know that, Gaelic Warrior. He's tremendously talented. And if he gets it right, he could, I wouldn't say be a stalking horse and put John Bon off, but he could go blasting off and, do something really special. I think the horse that might be of most interest here, especially if you're looking for one each way, to take on the favourite, is a horse who jumps beautifully and gets to a high cruising speed very quickly, and that is Solness.
Yes.
Solness for Joseph O'Brien. He was so impressive at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival, beat Marine Nationale. He beat Gaelic Warrior the time before, and he just seems to be getting better and better. And Joseph O'Brien for me is already a great trainer, and he has been pretty bullish in his very quiet way about Solness running well. And so I would say that if people are looking for an alternative bet to taking 10 to 11 or 4 to 5, the favourite, then maybe Solness is the one to give him most to worry about.
I mean, I've kind of given all my cards away up front, really, because I've admitted that I'm sort of leading John Bond's fan club this year. But the only thing that worried me about Solness, Paul, because I actually really quite like a couple of the Joseph O'Brien runners. I love Banbridge. He's not having the most winners at the moment. I know we're a few weeks out and that could all change. But yeah, it's just something I'm keeping an eye on with regards to the Joseph O'Brien runners. I tend to find that more recently he seemed to hit form quite nicely around the Aintree time. And he tends to pick up a few there. He's had like Home by the Lee, Banbridge, that sort of thing. They perhaps don't run so well at Cheltenham, and then he seems to sort of fire back. When everyone else is coming off the boil, he sort of starts to pick back up again.
I'm not sure. I think that's one I don't quite agree with you on. We can't agree on everything. I think Josie will have them absolutely spot on for this meeting. I think he's got a few chances. One other that you mentioned, but he hasn't. But you got the police coming for you. What's that in the background? I can hear the police.
The police are coming to arrest me for my statements about Joseph O'Brien.
He sent the boys round. So. I'd be perfectly happy that his horses will be okay. I agree. He seems to keep them possibly on the boil longer than other trainers, which is why when you get to Aintree and Punchestown, he's still firing the winners. But I'd be quite happy about Solness. And as you mentioned, the other runner that he may have, Banbridge, is absolutely no slouch, as we know. He won at Kempton in the King George. So whether he'll have the speed for 2 miles, I'm not sure. I think they may well go elsewhere, but Solness would probably do for me. But again, all these selections with the caveat of the ground, as long as something extraordinary doesn't happen with the weather between now and race day.
Yeah, Banbridge especially for that, isn't it? Because he often they make some last minute changes based on the ground for him. I think though that is all we've got time for on day 2. Before we sign off, Paul, is there any fancies anywhere else other than the races we've spoken about? A few handicaps on the card as well? Any of those big price winners that you're looking for?
Well, I'll be looking at the races much closer nearer the time when we have the proper declarations. But the Coral Cup is a race where there's always lots of money flying around because there's lots of horses that have been plotted up, to try and get there on the right handicap mark for the Coral Cup. And there are a few that I think Dan Skelton's got one called Joya Machin that I think could be quite interesting. We'll see what the ground is for him. Joseph, we just spoken about Joseph O'Brien. Comfort Zone will be an interesting one if he runs. Another Irish trainer, Paul Nolan, has Park of Kings for JP McManus, another one that I think could be interesting. And Gordon Elliott seems to think that the mare, Wodhu, can continue her winning sequence. He says she's going to run well. I'm not saying that it will be my selection, but he is very keen on Wodhu, extending it to 6 or 7 wins in a row.
So that is all we have time for. Don't forget to check out all of Paul's tips over on Sportsbet and on his tipping service Out in Front as well.